With over 100 hours in Tears of the Kingdom, I've experimented with many different types of vehicles and fusions for all types of occasions. Some fusions are super useful, some are super strange, and some are just plain useless. I wanted to cover some of the best fusions possible, starting off with the arrow fusions. The possibilities for arrow fusions have varying results, but overall have some pretty cool and unique effects that you can take advantage of in range combat. As some items share similar and sometimes almost identical effects, I've grouped together a couple of items for this ranking just to make it more streamlined. So let's get started with number 5. Coming in at the number 5 spot is both rockets and wings, as they have the same effect on arrows. This effect being turning a normal arrow into a rocket, and it's a super easy way to hit targets outside of the usual bow range. By attaching either a wing or a rocket to an arrow, it will cause the arrow to shoot much faster than usual, as well as extending its max range for the arrow to travel. All of the wings will arc much further than a normal arrow, while the rocket will maintain a straight trajectory until it runs out of power. Aside from the main effects, the many different types of wings also have extra effects. Certain wings such as a Gleeok wing or Gibdo wing can do far more damage than a normal Keese wing, but are much rarer to get, especially from bosses. Keese wings can also have different elemental types through killing fire, ice, or electric Keese, and these wings will not only shoot faster and further, but also retain the elemental effects of the wing, which can be super useful for sniping explosive barrels. Another cool thing is that Molduga things, due to their sail-like properties, will also work in the same way as wings, while also dealing huge amounts of damage. These items can all be useful in some long-range scenarios, but aren't as strong or easy to get as the next fuse combinations, and is why they are at the number 5 spot. Eyeballs are another surprisingly useful item to attach to an arrow due to their homing in qualities. From just looking at it, you wouldn't expect eyeballs to be super useful, but due to the fact that they give Link aimbot, they are super useful to have around. The way eyeballs work is by attaching them to an arrow. When the arrow is shot, it will home in on the nearest enemy, which can be super useful when dealing with fast moving or flying enemies, or even just helpful when you want to make a certain hard to hit shot. Similar to wings, there are a variety of different eyeballs you can get. From all the elemental Keese ones to higher damaging ones such as an Arrokuda or Octorok. The different types of Keese will all drop their respective eyeballs, so you can use them to create homing arrows with fire, ice, or electric effects, which can be super powerful. These are especially useful when dealing with Yiga clan bases, as shooting these guys off their vehicles can prove to be somewhat challenging, but by simply attaching an eyeball, they become a cakewalk. Even in general combat, having aimbot can always help, especially in super tense situations. A ton of Sheikah tech was removed in Tears of the Kingdom, including guardians and all of the ancient weaponry, but one fragment still remains from this era, and that is the ancient arrow. Now, you might not have found one of these in your save file, as they are insanely rare, and I'm pretty sure I only found 2 in my game, but I don't remember exactly where they are in the world. I've got more in these clips as I duped them because they're super powerful. These arrowheads when fused act the same way as an ancient arrow in Breath of the Wild, which would just delete the enemy whatever it is. In Breath of the Wild, these were super good for guardians and weren't as near as rare to collect around the world. In Tears of the Kingdom though, there aren't any guardians, so the best enemy to use these on are Lynels, but the problem is that they won't drop any materials when killed with the ancient arrows, so it's only really useful in these underground Colosseum fights or any mandatory fights with strong enemies. Even though this is technically the strongest possible fusion, the fact that it's so incredibly rare means it isn't as good as some other possible items that both have more uses and are much more readily available. So many items in Tears of the Kingdom will give arrows an elemental effect of either lightning, fire, ice, or water, and these elemental effects will also have different levels of strength, from the basic fire fruit, zap fruit, ice fruit, and smash fruit, to the super strong dragon parts, which will cause large explosions. Gems also have super powerful effects corresponding to their colors, and these will cause massive damage if used, but come at a price of being super expensive, so in a casual playthrough, you're probably better off using these for rupees. Other monster parts such as before mentioned eyeballs and wings, and even Gleeok horns can be used for some of the strongest elemental stuff in the game. The use of a certain element varies in the situation. If you need to blow up some barrels, you can use fire, or if there's metallic objects, a lightning effect would come in handy. Because of the combinations you can perform and just the overall power of these items, this is one of the best options to fuse to your arrows. Now, there are a lot of possibilities when it comes to fusing, so I just wanted to go over some really fun and unique items, as well as just some decent options. Muddle Buds are pretty funny, as enemies hit with it will become confused and start attacking other enemies, which can be really useful to both distract and deal damage. Mushrooms will create a cloud of smoke, allowing you to easily sneak up on enemies and perform powerful sneak strikes or escape without being chased. You can actually attach beehives to your arrows to cause bees to attack wherever you aim, which is hilarious to watch. By attaching an Octorok balloon to your arrow, anything you shoot will become attached to the balloon and begin flying up into the air, which can lead to some hilarious moments and some wacky combat. Aside from a lot of the outlandish ones, all monster parts with high fuse power are always good options for dealing increased damage from range. The fangs in particular are good to use as they can't be used for other things like weapons, unlike a lot of other larger parts. Now, onto the number one item to attach to your arrows. Just like in Breath of the Wild, nothing beats a good old-fashioned bomb arrow. The power and destructive force of bomb arrows are only matched by explosive barrels and other super rare items like dragon parts. Bombs are easily the best item from their high area of effect damage to their insane knockback, and bombs were by far my most used item over my 100-hour playtime. By fusing a bomb flower to an arrow, you get the same thing as a bomb arrow from Breath of the Wild, which was easily the best arrow type and remains the same in this game. Bomb arrows will always be useful, as you can use them for either pure damage or even to stun entire groups of enemies with a single arrow. These arrows are some of the best for crowd control and are always fun and satisfying to use, as who doesn't like explosions? One important thing to remember though is not to use them under Death Mountain or in any super hot places, otherwise you might get a surprise. Bombs are super easy to come by, and even though I was using them a lot through my playthrough, I always had plenty as they appear in both caves and the depths quite regularly, so you won't ever have to worry about running out. Overall, this is just a solid option for combat, and even has other uses such as breaking rock walls out of reach or breaking enemy rock armor, and that is why bomb arrows are the number one item to fuse for your arrows in Tears of the Kingdom. Hope you found this video useful, and make sure you leave a like if you enjoyed it. Let me know what your favorite fuse is down below. If you guys like this video, you can expect videos on weapon fusing and shield fusing sometime soon, so subscribe so you don't miss them.